Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Abundology Podcast. Today, we're talking with my friend Tracy about somatic healing. And I have to be honest with you, I really don't know much about this. So I'm looking forward to learning something today. Now, Tracy Broyals is a somatic and intuitive healing practitioner who helps people reconnect with their bodies and release stored emotional patterns and really return to this deeper sense of clarity and ease. So she blends somatic healing, energy healing, intuitive guidance to support healing on all the levels: physical, emotional, and energetic. So, Tracy, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited, so excited to be here.
Well, I definitely have heard of somatic healing before, but I'm a little embarrassed to say that I don't know exactly what it is.
Well, that is not embarrassing at all. And it's so broad and there's so many ways we could jump in and define it. And I, I also want to say, I'm thinking about you right now and you're doing all these hikes for the summer. And
Yes.
so you're doing somatic healing. You're doing a thing. You are connecting with your body and moving it in a way that you feel called to, that you have an intention around, that is bringing something into your life that you want. So I think that I love to sort of take away the mystery around it
Yes.
and just say we all have bodies and we all have ways that we connect with bodies. And I was thinking about this language, somatic healing, and even the word healing, and it could also be replaced with, and I think it's a great word, so I have no problem with that word, but I think it can also be replaced with connection, which is something you mentioned too. Connection and reconnection. It in our bodies and in our energy field, it's just like the planet. It knows what to do. It actually, if you take away the things that are blocking the process, our energy and our body, they know how to be, they know how to process, they know how to take care of themselves by and large. And so I think that there is a returning that I want to invite people into in this work, a returning to connecting to their core self, their natural movement, their deep, deep self that is already filled with knowledge and wisdom and guidance. And, you know, our heart knows how to beat and move blood through our body, and we know how to breathe. So all of those things are just a reconnection to the simplicity of the wisdom in the body. But everything get, everything gets in the way, is what I almost wanted to say. A lot of stuff gets in the way, right? And that we could talk a little bit more about that. But um,
Well, I'm assuming that just our life that we live now, where we're really not connected.
yes,
People don't spend that much time out in nature. We don't move we're sitting down either on our phones or at work or watching TV or something. We're not really moving our bodies like we used to.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. And it's not so built into our lifestyle. I'm always marveled at the fact of even just the way we learn, like through schooling, any kind of like, okay, you go to elementary school, kindergarten, and you're learning about this, you learn about math, you learn about diagramming a sentence. We learn about all these things that are kind of conceptual and outside of us that are part of our agreed upon society. So in our agreed upon society, we use these foundational things, but we don't learn about the body really. Or if you do, it's some weird little like, I don't know, we had Mr. Goodbody, I think, when I was growing up. I remember him on TV. But really like learning about what's inside of us, learning about the way it comes together, learning about the way the body works, and then being able to be present in it. It makes me think with that about like even gym class when I was growing up. And I had the idea for the longest time that I was like not an athletic person, that I couldn't connect my body in that way because I wasn't good at softball and like I don't know, a couple of those little sports that we would play, and they were always just these sort of team sports with a particular goal and a set kind of aggressive stance, and which is also fine. I think there's a real place for those, and that can lead someone to a somatic healing, to embodiment. So I think athletics are great, But it wasn't until I was older and I started to get into dance that I was like, oh, I've always been a very physical person. I was always climbing all over the jungle gyms. I really can trust this body. And so that's what happens too, is we grow up typically in these environments where we can't trust our bodies, and we don't have examples of authority figures that are probably trusting their bodies, that know how to regulate their bodies. So the body becomes this point of emotional dysregulation, nervous system dysregulation, too much or too little expression, safety, questions of safety. It's a thing that can be sort of hurt or abused, instead of a place that can be, really the source of so much grounding and power. It's very stripped away. And so then if there's not like these active practices, I mean, little kids are in their bodies. We see it. And little kids are emotionally expressive and incredibly creative and all of these things. What they struggle with often is being regulated. But again, that's kind of another conversation. But so then at some point, it just becomes a source usually of bad or of some kind of almost exploitation. And so when you are coming into like a somatic healing, it is really just about a certain kind of autonomy and ownership that you get to have around this thing that is our home, that we experience all of our life through it. And so our consciousness can go in multiple directions and our energy can go in multiple directions, but where are we located each moment? Wherever our body is. It is
Yes.
like the kind of the dot that's moving along where we can continuously locate the, infinite amount of life and energy that's around us.
Well, and I think we sometimes think of our minds, our souls, and our bodies as separate. When we talk about intuition, one of the main things is feeling it in your body, like you have a gut feeling or you get goosebumps or whatever that may be. They're not all separate.
Yes. It's funny. I was just reading in this book yesterday. I got this really interesting book. Oh, okay. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I can't remember the name, but it's all about like trees and communicating with trees. And so there was a word that I didn't even know, but it's called interoception. And so, but it's what you're talking about. And I went into my class yesterday. I was like, oh, hey, guess what, everyone? There's this word for what we've been practicing all this time. So interoception being this way to track what's happening on the inside on a really broad, simple level. So this is being aware of your heartbeat, being able to really listen and notice your breathing or feel sensations in your body because of what you're just saying, that all this separation, we often can't even feel the sensations in our body. We might not even clock that gut reaction that like is telling us something is not right, or we clock it and we don't pay attention to it. So yeah, it was interesting, this interoception and this ability to feel and sense what's going on the inside. And then in the work, and especially when I can bring in through the core energetics training, this was talked a lot about. We use our interoception, this tracking on the inside, to also not just with our immediate environment, but with thoughts that we're thinking. So every time I think this thought, my heart starts racing, or with emotions that come up, so that it's not just I'm feeling grief. It's like, yes, okay. What does that actually feel like? Is there a weight in your chest? Do you feel like you can't breathe behind the back of your heart? Like really, again, bringing it into the immediate and bringing it into the moment, sensorial body tracking and awareness, because that's where you can really work with it. It's very hard to be like, I need to work with grief and I'm feeling grief right now. And there's other ways, right? This is
Yeah.
not the only way in, but it's the way that I feel most, called into sharing about. It's like, okay, let's get so specific on what the actual sensations are, because that's where the vibrations, that's where the energy is pinging off the body in a particular way. And you can just go right there. Oh, if I just hold right here above, my left collarbone, then I can be with myself in a different way.
Well, and as we talk about being present, it's one of the things I talk about all the time. I think we initially go to our brains being present,
Mm,
yes, but it's being present in our body
mm,
too. It's all of it. Being present with our minds, our bodies, our souls, getting to enjoy all of that. And you
yes,
can't be present with just the head. It just don't
exactly.
work, doesn't quite work like that.
It does not work that way, and it is and it creates a lot of stress and anxiety in a
Yeah.
system. It's like all the energy then is here, and then okay, are you getting headaches? Are you getting anxiety? Are you, it's like, do you know where your feet are? And I think, but I do like going back to what we were saying earlier, I do think it does take practice and training. Like it takes consciously as an adult typically, or even growing up, but again, unless this is actively in your life, like it takes consciously training yourself to even kind of slow down, I guess, in some ways, enough to feel your body, to feel like, oh, I have a backspace. There's there's a back of my body, and there's like energy behind me. And can I slow down and feel it? And it's when you were saying that too, I was picturing how, I mean, our mind is a great tool. There is a mind in our cells, we know that there's a mind in our gut. We know there's quote unquote mind and definitely consciousness in all these other parts. So it is, but one thing I've noticed is if people don't kind of have this in their practice, that there needs to be a little bit of a leap, like a suspension of disbelief kind of leap into like, okay, I can actually not just think about my shoulder blade, but I can feel the consciousness in my shoulder blade. I can not just think about my guts, but what is it like to actually almost think from the guts? And it's a nuanced difference, and it's maybe like a little bit down the line for some people, but there's a faith, or yeah, like a suspension of disbelief that you don't actually have to control it all from the brain and
Yeah.
from the nervous system in that way too.
That movie, Eat, Pray, Love, and she is in, I don't know where, I don't remember where it was, Bali maybe, or Thailand or somewhere, and
Yeah.
she's meditating, her master says, no, she's like, I'm smiling now. And he's like, yeah, but your organs aren't smiling, or your
Ah,
organs need to smile. And I always thought, oh, that's so cool.
totally. Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
So you mentioned headaches and you mentioned something else, maybe stress. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Are those some of the signs that you may not be in your body, or you're carrying stuff in your
Mm,
body, or
yeah, that's a great question. So I think that yes, for sure, headaches, stress, and to again be more specific, I think that one of the, of course everyone's unique, but one of the most broad signs of attention, it's attention. And it's like I don't want to quite saying not being in your body, because we are in our bodies. We are.
true,
Here
true.
we are.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
not being aware, right? It's like a weird difference, I think, in like, is my, well, it's what you're saying. Is my mind, is my consciousness in my body, or is it like way over here and so I'm not here? I think that holding tensions are a huge one, like a really big one. So it's like that chronic, wow, my left hip is always tight, and every time I try to move it, it clicks and it aches, and these chronic places of holding. So there is, what do I want to say about this? Energetically, and then but I'll talk about the physical, but the physical is just the densest layer of the energetic. But and that is like what I go to all the time and 100% believe and know to be true. But energetically, I think attention is often like one or more opposing currents coming together. So this thing that we were talking about, yeah, of like okay, let's say our body without obstruction has a natural flow of energy, has a natural movement because everything is moving all the time. It's not ever stasis. So the balance is the movement. And so let's say this current is moving in this direction, but we have a no. We have something we don't want it to move. We don't want it to feel for a whole variety of reasons. So that's like an opposing current. So it's like trying to stop a waterfall. There's a lot of like push. And in those places where our mind, which is very powerful, and our past and our history and our nervous system is just saying, no, I don't want to feel movement in that area, then we put up these habitual blocks, these kind of tensions of holding. Um, does that make sense?
So, yeah, it does make sense. So I'm assuming that would be around maybe some trauma that
For
we've
sure.
experienced. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then that would be where it would show up.
Yeah.
That we don't want to look at it, or we have a block against it, or with it, or whatever that may be.
Yes, absolutely. And it's such a trauma is such a big word too, kind of like healing. Um, so the way that it can be stored in your body can be from such a young age, all the way to, oh, last week, and then I got into a car accident, right? So it can be these things that they can be event based, or they can be sort of habitual based, like something happened over and over and over and it just wasn't quite right. And it can happen recently, and it can happen, so young, so pre-verbal. So it is, again, to what you were talking about earlier around the mind, it can be tricky because if our mind is looking for an event, sometimes it can't quite be found because it could have been from a time that our mind wasn't quite on board.
Yep.
But there is going to be a feeling there. And that's what I sense for a lot of the really like younger and childhood traumas. It's that a feeling, something happened or something happened repeatedly that could be big or small. So I just want to kind of say that again. It can be something almost very subtle, but was damaging to the spirit and the soul. And the feeling around that is too big to feel. So for a young being, let's say a young being to have a rage or an anger at like I'm not being taken care. I'm hungry. Like I'm hungry. And this happens to all babies, by the way. So it's like we
Yeah.
all have this stuff. Like I'm hungry and I'm not getting exactly what I need in the time and the way I need it, which is sort of what babies demand. And and there's like a rage, and that's really intense. And like you don't know, you're just this tiny little thing. You don't know what is going on. There are these people to take care of you. You have no agency of your own. So a feeling comes up that's way too big to feel. It's like too big for a little being to feel. And there's probably not maybe a lot of support in how to like feel it and then regulate or come back down. So even from a young age, we'll take these two big feelings and we'll put them somewhere, and then we'll hold and lock around them because maybe it's dangerous to cry loud. Maybe you're in a situation where the caregivers don't give you what you need when you cry loud. So you're in survival mode. You're like, well, I'll hold that. I'll shove that away and I won't express it. So because I need to survive. So these things that happen, particularly when we're young, when they have this like weight of almost like a life and death to them. Um, and it's unsafe. As a grown up, you're like, oh, I could have expressed that and it would have been fine. But like to a young being, the lack, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you break the rules of the container that you're in, if you'll be sort of abandoned and left on the side, and then you have to fend for yourself, and you can't do that. So the holding is very, very tight. So when this wasn't your question, I know I'm just going, but um, when going back to the first thing and talking about some somatic healing and somatic like reconnection, having the support and understanding to titrate when we really get into these deep places, like a really deep place where you've been holding the deepest pain your whole life, it has to be supported to almost pulse open. It's not just like slam it open, there we go, because that's actually damaging. It's kind of like letting it pulse, letting it open, letting it be. Is it safe here? okay, I can be here. Is it safe? Oh, no, not safe. There's this open and closing because the wiring of the nervous system and really of the energy of it is you feel like you're gonna die. Like it feels like is this am I gonna die if I become who I am?
Oh, that's good. Yes. Am I going to die if I become who I am?
Yeah.
Wow. So do you use movement for this? I know you have all the intuitive abilities because we've talked multiple times about all of that. But tell me, what are like some of the techniques that you use to
Yeah.
help, open that up?
Yeah, great. I definitely use movement. And I'm just pausing because there's kind of like different tracks that I offer. So a lot of this will be different if I'm like working with someone one-on-one or if I'm working with them in person, but I'll be broad. Um, or I'm working with a group is what I meant to say. Um, Movement is definitely probably the core though of what I do. And when I say that, I mean like that can start with like, you just like touch your hand on an area and like, can you even feel your hand? Can you breathe there? What are you noticing? So it's like coming into the body and slowing down. What are you like is your what are you sitting on? Can you feel what your chair? Can you feel the clothing and the temperature on you? This goes to that interoceptive word again, like can you even notice the temperatures in your body? So I consider that a kind of movement or like the way into movement, but is yeah, really slowing down, giving a chance to sense and notice to practice that inner sensing. Because that inner sensing is going to be the ticket in a way for people to move along at the pace that's right for them. So if they can kind of track that, then they can decide, oh, I can tolerate this. This is a little uncomfortable, but I can tolerate it. Or nope, actually, my heart is beating way too hard. I need to dial it back, or something like that. Um, Movement, breath. I like to do a lot of moving with breath, which is in so many traditions. And it's such a good way to get the energy flow going. I mean, if it's like you're just going to do one movement thing, repeat a movement and breathe with it until something shifts, because it will. Um,
Well, and like you said, we see that in all the traditions, what Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, all of that is breathing and matching your breath with your movement.
exactly.
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's
No,
there.
we don't.
Yeah, it's really there. Yeah, I do. I like a lot of micro movements or kind of subtle movements, but also I like big movements. Sometimes that's what's needed. Sometimes what's needed is to like stamp on the floor a little bit and make some sound or really feel your muscles so you can be like, oh yeah, I'm strong. I work a lot with the elements and kind of bringing in different qualities of elements, right? So the air, the breathing, the fire might be like, oh, we're gonna hold something until a little heat comes up in us, and we're gonna feel our muscles, and we're gonna let out a little yell, maybe, or this boy, we hold a lot of anger in this society, especially uh female born people. There's a lot of holding in. I'm like, don't so anyway. So I like to, when it's safe and when it's right, I like to make a space where people can just almost joyfully express that. We use like water element. So that would be feeling the pelvis and feeling the flow and kind of letting the body move with a little more liquidy. The earth element is the body. So we're always working with that. So I just feel like everything is moving all the time. And so the more we can let ourselves get into moving our body, the more it will naturally recalibrate itself.
So, would you say then maybe that movement is one of the main things that we can do, that
Oh,
people can do to like get back in their bodies?
absolutely. Absolutely. And I would really say, going back to like this hiking thing, it's almost like any kind of movement.
Yeah.
Like really like just move. We are not moving enough. We're not moving.
Just move. I love
I'm
that.
sorry. Just, I'll make a t-shirt. Just move.
Just move. Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
see any common areas where people tend to store anger? Is there like
Ooh,
certain
anger.
spots in your body that are more prone to holding it?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, ooh, for sure. And it's also unique, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's different things. But um one thing I've noticed, ooh, excuse me. Hmm. The hips.
Ah,
Hips are a big area. Again, at least what I've noticed is, especially for female-born people, there's a lot of holding in the hips, like, um, the kind of stomach right here, like the solar
like,
plexus area.
oh, yes, yes.
That can be a lot of like holding anger. And there's something I just worked with someone this week. It was like there was all this anger coming up from the lower part of their body. It was really collecting in that solar plexus. And then they were like, no. There was like a no to it. And so it was like stopping. So they were having trouble breathing, their diaphragm wasn't moving. It was all just like, and it was, I know you can go into it, but it's like when you stop it like that, the anger doesn't get to kind of go through the crucibles, right? It doesn't go through, it didn't go through, it wasn't going through this person's heart. And if it went through the heart, it might help change it into this real conversation that they did need to have, which had anger but had love. So anyway, so I think there's a lot of holding in the solar plexus, holding in the hips. And then another area that I've noticed where a lot of anger will live is very specifically at the back of the neck, like kind of
Oh, yes.
narrowly at the back of the neck. And I think it's because, again, it all has to do with the way we're holding it in. So if we're like, I'm trying not to say it, you might clench your jaw, and then this creates thing at the back of the neck. And sometimes when people do that, I've noticed that then the anger will just come out their eyes. So it's like they're kind of, because it's got to go somewhere, right? We really can't hold all of it in. So like if you're kind of holding it in your jaw and holding in your neck, but then you've got these like fire eyes
Oh,
shooting.
that is so funny. When I used to have employees and have a company and stuff, you have to be calm and regulated. And I remember somebody said to me once, I know you're angry because I can just see it in your eyes.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's great.
There we go. Yeah. And sometimes that's what needs to happen. And so
Yeah.
you're
Well,
aware.
so let's just say we are truly in our bodies. Can you give me just something that we can look forward to to how that
Hmm.
really feels?
Oh, I love that. That's a great question. Hmm. Safe.
Mm.
And when I say that, what I mean is that you're not going to feel peaceful and calm all the time, but there's a safety in no matter what I feel, I can be with it. No matter what comes up from the inside of me, from the outside of me, I am resourced, um, expressive, creative. I mean, creativity is no matter what your creativity is in writing, even, or, drawing, just living a creative life, being present and like creatively making your life, which we're all doing all the time. Um, the body is always going to help with that. It's always going to help with that. Um, you have more capacity for love and connection, really. Pleasure. And again, that could run the gamut. That could be like the pleasure of dipping your ankles into a river, you know, riding a horse. I don't know why I'm saying that. I think it's because I'm looking at your background. I think there should be a horse back there. Um, again, I'm very partial to dance
Yeah.
and And even like guided movement, like we're going to do very specific movement or very free and intuitive movement. And that is both increased by being present in the body, and it gets you more present in the body. Both are true. But I think about like, it's really just how are we taking it in? We're taking in the world through our body and through these senses. And so the more aware and present you can be, and the less that you're living in the past because of these blocks in your body. So going back to, yeah, exactly, this thing with these tensions, these holdings, or also, I didn't bring this up, but it could be leaking, like a habitual kind of, I leak my energy here, which would also be kind of a pattern from the past. Where it's hard to take in that sunset. It's almost like there's a fog. There's something blocking you all the time from just really, there's so much that the world has to offer and that we have to offer the world. And it is really alive when we are connecting consciously with our body. And when we've gone through the challenges of kind of in our body, letting go of some of our past pain. And then I think, and you've been bringing this up a little bit here and there, I mean, intuition, 100%. There's a teaching in the path work that the more emotional kind of maturity that you have, the more intuition you have. And so by emotional maturity, it's really just like you learn how to feel the feelings and like move through and with them. And that kind of grows the feelings up, grows the emotions up. And that the more we have that, because again, we're not in the past and reactivity, the more we can truly hear the intuition and like wisdom and guidance that's in our body. It's a subtle, isn't there a poem? It's kind of like the quiet listening or the subtle listening, the subtle
Yes.
voice, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's that. So coming into our body is getting rid of the stuff that gets us out of our body. And then we're just here and we can start to practice hearing the subtle voice. And that is intuition, creativity, connection, love, pleasure, and safety, the ability to feel safe no matter what's going on.
Fabulous.
You ready?
Yes, we want all of that. And I think as
Yes.
we're on this spiritual journey of enlightenment,
Yeah.
many of us, go to our heads,
Yeah.
which is a big part of it, controlling what we think, not letting the thoughts just spiral in there.
Yes.
But really, the awakening is all of us for
Oh,
inner peace. For inner peace, yes, this is important, but so is your body to be able to get there. So if you're just concentrating on your head, you're not quite getting all the way there.
exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfectly
Yeah.
said.
I love this. I'm really excited to experience this firsthand at Spiritual Summer School.
Yes. I
I
can't
know,
wait.
I know. Tracy will be teaching a movement medicine class at summer school this year, and she'll be using all of her tools: visualization, experimental anatomy, intuitive movement. We'll do some energetic clearing of our organs. Like, I am there for that. I'm totally there for that. Now, this is the third year that I've hosted a spiritual summer school, and it's my favorite thing all year. So for the month of July, there are 3 classes a week about all kinds of different spiritual topics. So this year, in addition to Tracy's class, there are classes on dream interpretation, animal communication, human design, anatomy, tarot. We'll have a medical intuitive there, numerology, nature spirits, and charm casting. So it's just so much fun. You can attend live on Zoom or you can watch the recordings, and you get all of the classes the whole month of July for only $150. Super good deal. You can register on my website, abundology.com, and I'll also put a link in the show notes. Now, you live in Portland.
Yes.
And you offer in-person sessions, but you also offer online sessions too.
Right.
So people can book with you on your website, tracybroyals.com. And once again, I'll put a link in the show notes. And you are offering a $25 discount on one of your sessions
Yes.
for listeners here. And to get that discount, you use the coupon code of summer. So All right. This is another thing I'd like you to talk about a little bit. You do these align classes. Like I think every season you do like an align series of classes. So
Yeah,
can you tell us a little bit about that?
sure. Okay, so I love Align. It's really fun. Align, I started it because I was feeling that kind of like what we were talking about, the titration. Uh, People really needed, and I needed, and I wanted to offer just a simple, like, get you ready for the day, short, potent practices that have to do with all these things we've been talking about: embodiment, creativity, energy healing, and but to really focus on the aspect of it that was kind of short and sweet and consistent. So it goes two to 3 days a week. It varies, mostly 3 days a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And it's live in the morning from 8 to 8:30 Portland time, but there's also recording. Some people do it exclusively by recording. And each semester, so to speak, or seasonal seasonal time has some kind of theme that's usually connected to the season. And also I'm listening, things show up, people do a fairly detailed intake, and so I pay attention to that, and then I involve those themes in it. Each day has like one teaching, like one idea we're going to work with that connects to the theme. For instance, I know for summer we're going to start, that's going to expand from here, but we're going to start with really playing with stillness and letting the body come into enough of a resting state that you can feel, again, the natural movement, because there's nothing really still, but also so you can notice where maybe you were holding on to something that you didn't even realize, like, oh, I'm holding my shoulder like I drove yesterday. So we're going to play with stillness. We'll do some teachings around stillness. There's usually a few journal prompts. And then, excuse me. Okay. So yeah, so Align is, it's just a really gentle, consistent, and kind of feels like a generous way to connect with yourself, your energy, and your body on a regular basis, and to really let it affect your life, like affect your days. That's my hope for it.
So is that throughout the summer then?
Throughout
Or
the summer, yeah, we're
throughout the
starting in
summer?
July. I think it's July 14th, and then it's going till just before the fall equinox.
Oh
So,
my God, that sounds
yeah,
lovely.
it's going to be
I
lovely.
think I'm going to sign up for this.
You
Yeah,
should. I
after hearing
love
you
it.
talk about it, I'm realizing, maybe I'm not paying as much attention to this. It sounds lovely. And you have extended the early bird registration
Correct.
price of $190 for Abundology podcast listeners. So I
Awesome.
appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I'm
And
excited.
yeah, and thank you again for sharing all your wisdom with us. Why, I learned a lot. And it's just kind of clicked like, wow, it
Mm.
isn't all up here. It isn't all quieting the mind and doing that work. It's the integration of everything.
Yes. Yes.
Mm, I
Thank you
love this.
so much for having me. I love your work. I love your podcast. I love what you're bringing to the world and the way you're bringing people together in it. So such an honor. I'm so honored.
Thank you, Tracy. And
Mm.
thank you, everybody, for listening. And I'll talk to you again next time.